Hey, bestie.
What's up, Betsy?
Not much. Welcome back to the Business Besties Podcast with Cara Miller and Efron Landau. At least we remembered in the beginning this time to, do the introduction. Cara, can you tell us a little bit about you real quick in case this is the first podcast that someone is listening to or watching?
Yeah, so I've been in the life insurance industry for 17 years now. I'm currently a vice president of agency development for UniTrust Financial Group, and that's just a little bit about me.
Great. And I came from 12 years in the education field. I've been in the life insurance industry for just over a year now, with UniTrust just 7 months. And in 7 months, we've taken our team from about 25,000 in submitted business to 170,000 in 7 months. Unofficially hit my first qualifying month as agency owner. So we're getting there. But if you are interested in learning more or joining Cara's team or my team, go to thebusinessbestiespodcast.com/JOIN. We'll put it down there in the comments or description, whatever it is. Look, we did it. We had a good intro. Alrighty, so let's get into it. Cara, what did you want to chat about today? I know something is weighing heavily on your mind. I think it's weighing heavily on my mind as well.
Yeah, so I've had some really interesting conversations this week with people and people that are currently working with or have worked with other agencies in the industry. And it seems to be like a common theme that they just don't feel like they have support. And that doesn't just mean like they don't have leads. It doesn't mean they don't have trainings offered, but they feel like nobody's asking them what their goals are, what their wants are, and what their needs are, and how they can help them. And I will say it's sitting with me because that's how I was getting started in the industry, is I just didn't have that support that I needed.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think coming to UniTrust, I learned how to help build that support from watching you. So what I do with my agents when they come on, as soon as they submit their contracting, I sit down with them one-on-one and I go through their goals. And we talk about what does that look like? What is your goal right now? What is your goal in the future? And okay, let's talk through. In order for you to hit this goal, let's walk through what you're going to need to do and go over those expectations and see if that aligns with you. And I learned that from you, and I think it was super helpful for me. I know that I still check in about my goals with you, pretty much on a monthly basis, if not more. And what I found is that's really helping agents kind of understand, because I think a lot of the times is we have goals. And, what I keep seeing is that goals are only dreams unless you, put in the action. And a lot of people, including myself, we don't know what we need to do to achieve those goals necessarily. But at UniTrust, because of our lead system, because of just the system in general, we can tell you as a new agent, for the most part, this is how many leads you're going to need to buy to set this many of appointments, and you should close about this much. And I think that really helps people understand, okay, if I put in this much work, this is what I should see, instead of just going into it blindly and hoping for the best. Is that kind of where you developed like your goal system, which, I kind of duplicated?
So everything I do is data driven. And I think I study the numbers. I love the numbers because I can predict within, just within a hair of margin of error that if you put in this activity, you'll get these results. Now, there is the off the wall chance if people just don't like you and you have the personality of a wet rag, there's nothing we can do for you with that. But for the average human being who can hold a conversation with people, I mean, the numbers are the numbers. We know that if you make this many dials and you run this and you set this many appointments and you run this many appointments, you'll make X number of sales. It's very predictable and it's very scalable that way, which is a huge part of it. But I always look at things this way too. Not everybody's goals are the same. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, different educations. They have different wants and they have different needs. I talked to a young lady this week and she said, Cara, I honestly, if I made $2,000 a month, I would pay my bills and I would be good. She's like, I'd like to make double that, but I know when I'm talking to her, if I start talking to her about making $10,000 a month, I'm going to, one, make her feel uncomfortable. I'm going to make her feel like she's not being listened to. But two, I'm going to push her so far out of her comfort zone. And when people are so far out of their comfort zone, they just stop. They freeze. It's like that I can't do it. Their belief level just goes straight down. And then I talked to another guy. He was like, look, I've been making about, $250,000 a year doing sales, and I want to double that. And I'm like, great, I love that. And this is what it's going to take. We can have different conversations, but at the end of the day, I'm going to help her figure out how to hit her goals. I'm going to help him figure out how to hit his goals. And we're going to do that together and create a roadmap together. And I don't think everybody in the industry really breaks that down.
No, and I don't think anyone in the industry has the tech that we have either to track all these. I have always been really bad at tracking my numbers. And
I know.
like, terrible. And then when my agents come to me and they're like, what kind of lead should I buy this week? How many? I'm like, well, did you track your numbers? Mind you, I'm probably not even doing it. I just keep buying enough leads so that I sell what I need to sell, which is not the way to go. But since UniTrust put this new tech in, oh my God, it is magical, right? Because we just have our calendar. I plug in my appointments. I can disposition it like a no-show. I sold, and then I can literally look at our activity tracker. So I think for January, I set 122 appointments. I had 99 sits, about, what is that, like a 70, it was an 80% show rate. Yeah, you're not the math one.
You're the math person, not me.
So 80% show rate, and I wrote 41 applications, but I just closed 25 because some were like couples. So my close rate is only at 25%. I know that my close rate is not where it needs to be. That's kind of always been my area of opportunity. But I think what's great, especially at UniTrust, number one, we have these systems that allow us to see, okay, here's my strength. So this is where I'm really good coaching my team. But this is my area of opportunity. So now what's great about UniTrust is that maybe I'm not the strongest at closing, but guess what? There's other people at UniTrust that are, and everyone here is so willing to help. Like Brandon Hall, he's coming on the team call on Tuesdays to work on closing. I talked to Noelle this week because she's like, man, you are killing it building. And I'm like, you're killing it closing. I was like, all right, how can we help each other? I was like, listen, I'm going to give you my building system and how I'm getting people going so quick. Can I send you some of my active writers to come watch you because she can close like crazy? So it's just like you said, I think it was in the last episode, or maybe we just chat about it all the time, but you say, what is it? The rising, I cannot get this
Rising tides raise all ships.
Exactly. So it's not like we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, but what's so great about UniTrust is that everyone is willing to help everyone else so that we can all, grow and climb together.
I mean, and it's not just about UniTrust, it's the people that we work with here.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody so willing to be on the same page. We all have the same resources, the same training. We all have the same opportunity here. And I keep going back to this. It doesn't matter what you've done before, what successes you've had before, what failures you had before. If you're coming in broken, busted, and beat down, or if you're coming in like, hey, ego is like right here, you've got the same opportunity. It's what you do with it that matters. And when you approach people differently than maybe you've been approached in the past, and it's the same thing I said to you. What can I do to help you? Where do you want to go? And I never give you your goals. But one thing I found in business, and I teach this every Thursday during my boot camps, right? If you don't put your goal down on paper, you don't put it in front of you, you don't share it with others, and you don't create an action plan to get there. Like you don't break it down and go, okay, because then it's like this big, fat, hairy thing that's right in front of you. And you're like, I'm going to change it. It's okay if I don't get that. Okay, I don't get there, But if you're now sharing that with a group of people and then you have it broken down, okay, for me to hit this goal, I need to do this, then I need to do this, then I need to do this. And you could tell whether you're on pace to get there or if you're slightly off. And if you're slightly off, that's the great thing is we have the ability to reach out to somebody we know is hitting those targets and they're not holding back. You ever worked for a company, and I don't know, because you've run in business with teaching, you've been in insurance for a little bit, but I always felt like me in insurance working with other companies, like they give you 80% of the information, but they're holding back like this little piece, like
because
this
they don't want you to get up here. They have to keep you down.
Exactly. It's crabs in a pot.
Mm-hmm.
The one
It's
crab's
just
always
like,
going to pull the other one
yep.
down and they're never going to get out. And it doesn't feel like that because when Pete and Brandon formed our company here, they were like, we want everybody to succeed. We want this to be a safe place for people to be successful, create a great income, build an incredible business if they want to, but also we're not going to hold anything back because their success is our success.
Mm-hmm.
And they constantly are on like the staff here, the teams, like the motto needs to be the thing that we need to repeat day in, day out. How can we help you? What do you need? What is it that we can do to make your life easier? And that's where the tech comes from. That's where the trainings come from. It's because we're talking to the people who are out there doing it. Our people are the agents that are in the field on the phone with clients, doing what it is that we do. And if they have an idea that could make their life easier, we're like, let's talk about it. Let's brainstorm together. Let's see if we can make that a reality. It's a big change and shift in the industry.
Yeah, Pete called me the other day. He's like, "How are things going?" I was like, "They're going good. I think the team's struggling a little bit with closing." He's like, "Have you reached out to Brandon?" And Brandon Hall, co-owner of the company, number one producer of simplified life insurance in the entire country. And I'm like, "No, I don't want to bother him." He's like, "Efron, Brandon is your upline. It doesn't even matter if he's not your upline. Call him, have him come work with your team. Like that's what he wants to do." I leave him a voicemail with him. Brandon, I suck at closing. Can you come help me? He's like, shut up. Yes, I'll be there. But back to your goals. This is what's crazy. So I think it was a Saturday boot camp with Brandon, and he was going over, the goals thing. And I think it must have been either the last Saturday of December or the first Saturday of January. So literally as he's talking, I'm like, me, I just do it right away. I'm like, okay, let me write down my goals, and I share it with everyone who's on the call. And I have it on my wall, and I haven't even looked at it. I don't even know if I matched it for January. Number one was 40K in personal submitted business. I hit 45, so we got that one. Number two was to post 20 TikToks. I think I definitely did that. Number three was for us to start a podcast by February 1st, so we did that. Number four, 175,000 in team submitted business. Hit 170. We fell a little bit short. The team was a little bit lower this month. 5 ICAs signed by the team. I looked yesterday morning and we were at 121. So I'm actually not sure if we hit that. I was panicking just shy. I think we were 4 short. Yeah. I was panicking though mid-month because we were only at like 50. But, we turned that around. And then 10 new agents into the UniTrust recruiting system from the team. I don't know if we hit that yet. We might have been slightly shy.
When I ran your numbers, I'm pretty sure you were right around there. You
Mm-hmm.
had a lot on Friday when I ran your team call. We had a lot of new users joining.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really good.
And then the last one I think last month we had 24 unique writers on the team. So I wanted to make sure we could get 30 this month. I think we had 24 or 25 again. We fell short there, but I know for me, I did a lot of focus on personal production because I was like, okay, let me try this out, leading from the front, showing them, hey, this is my goal for the week. This is how many leads I'm going to buy. And if I just do that, like I'll hit this. So I did that, but then I feel like I fell short of being able to coach and train as much as I needed to. So it's on me that we didn't hit the unique writer goal because I feel like I went into production mode a little bit. So it's
You
always like
did.
this.
You did. However, I look at the big picture, like you're looking at the numbers right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at what you added to your team. So you had 120 new people join your team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of that number, in 90 days, you'll have at least 12 to 18 new writers. So while you may have fell shy in the month of January, which those were some pretty big goals, I have no doubt. It's kind of like when you called me, what was it? I think the second week into January, you were like, we're failing. I don't know what I'm going to do. We're not hitting our goals. And I'm like, okay, I can only talk you up the ledge so many times. And I'm like, just keep doing what you're doing. This is what you can improve upon, which was talking to people and giving them the opportunity, not making decisions for them, which was my theme of my call on
Now that you
Friday.
just Now that you just said this, I was like, wait, I pushed up my goals. I'm thinking that we did 170K as a team in December. I'm thinking we were stagnant. We did 142 as a team in December. We
Yeah.
hit 170. My gosh.
Why do I
Look at
have to
that.
keep putting things back in perspective for you? Like every single call
I
we
was like,
have, I'm
I
like,
was like, my team was stagnant. We didn't move very much. No, we did 30,000 more than last month. We did what? That's 20% more. We increased our business by
do you
20%.
know where you're at right now? Like, do you realize that most life insurance agencies never get past $1 million a year? And your run rate right now is $1 million a year agency. Like, I need you to put some things in perspective because 6 months ago, you were like maybe a $250,000 a year agency. If that,
Yeah. Yep.
if that. And that was basically all you and maybe one or two agents.
Yep.
So,
That's.
like, your growth is phenomenal. And I tell you, just understand if your team can grow by 15 to 20% each month and you just keep doing the same thing, one day you're going to open up your eyes and it's going to be, I mean, just unbelievable. But you just keep doing what you're doing and find the areas that maybe you're not the best at, which closing could be one on the sales side, but on the building side, one of the things I found, yes, I love you to death. So there was this call this week, and I was like, Efron, can I give you some coaching? And they were
Wait,
like,
oh wait, we didn't tell them. We recorded a whole podcast the other day. We're new to this, right? So I invite Cara as a guest first. We can't see each other, so I'm like, you know what, get out. Let me invite you as a producer. Who knows? We'll see. I take this thing off. I put it on the computer. I go to edit it. It cuts it down from 30 minutes to 12 minutes, and I'm like, that's weird. I start watching it. It is just me talking the entire. I was like, oh my God, as a producer, it cut out Cara the whole time. And I just scrolled. I don't even know what you were about to say. But yeah, we talked about this the other day on the podcast that we recorded without Cara.
which is awesome because they
It's
called me
just,
like 15 minutes later, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? And they're like, well, good news. Our squirrel podcast, because it was really bad. We went on
it
a
was
million squirrels.
bad. I'm like, we were not meant to post that podcast. So you know what?
But we had I gave you coaching on that
Mm-hmm.
podcast, back to where we were. And a guy had reached out to you that had previously reached out to you, and he had done nothing previously. And now he's like, I'm ready to get started. And you were like, I don't have time to deal with him. I don't want to deal with him. You can let him go to anybody else.
Because he set up a call with me and he bailed on me with not even
And I
saying anything.
understand that. But what I told you was sometimes there's points in our lives where we commit to something and we realize we just can't do it. Whether there's personal stuff going on, financial stuff going on professionally, there's things like that that can really affect you and your ability to move and make the progress you want. And while I disagree that he absolutely should have never stood you up. I think that's terribly rude. I had a conversation with him, and that conversation was very simple. It was like, what happened then and why should we move forward with you? But having that conversation, he's like, look, I will admit I had some personal stuff that got in the way and financially I was not in a good spot. And having that conversation with him allowed to open the door. So I'm like, sometimes we have to meet people where they're at, just like we have to support them where they're at. And we have to make sure that they feel like, hey, they have somebody that is a safe place for them to come to, safe place for them to communicate those things. Because as leaders, the biggest thing we can do is make sure, like, we all are going to have life things happen. I've had personal stuff come up. You've had personal stuff come up. But if people don't feel like we're their safe place to come and say, hey, I'm in a really bad financial situation, or I'm having a really rough personal situation, or I have this going on or that going on, then how can we be effective leaders and how can we be effective coaches? And I talked to him and I said, look, we're going to move forward. We're going to get this thing going again. But here's where I'm at. The second you don't communicate with me, these are my standards. So I set boundaries, I set standards. And I think when you first brought him on, you weren't as strong at setting boundaries and setting standards. And now you're getting much better at setting expectations, boundaries, and standards with people. And it's like, I tell people, if you want my time, you show up to the trainings, you communicate with me. There's no such thing as an over communication. But if you want to be successful in this business and you want to be successful as a leader or successful as a salesperson, you need to have that person that you can communicate with safely, but also that can openly give you feedback without worrying about, are you going to get your feelings hurt? Because for the first couple of times I talked to you, I always said, Efron, can I be real? Do I need to sugarcoat this? Because I'm a very direct person. And you're like, no sugarcoating needed. But sometimes I have to ask that permission because what I'm about to say, it might not be what you want to hear, but it might
Hmm.
be what you need to hear in that moment.
Yeah, and for me, when we were at conference and, Pete was talking about, hey, we're gonna pair you with different leaders that are gonna be, outside of me. They can, be your mentor, be your coach. And I went to him without even really knowing you yet, right? I was very new, but I was like, I want Cara. And he was like, are you sure? Like, she can be very direct. And I was like, that is what I need. I don't care how I take it or whatever. If I am going to grow as quick as I want, I need someone who's just going to not do any fluff, cut through the bullshit, and just throw it at me and just let me deal with it. And I've never felt like I needed to go cry after you talk to me. But I think, the only way you're able to grow in this business is by leaning on others and, partnering with others to use their strengths. If you think that you're going to come into this business and grow on your own and thrive and on your own, it's not going to happen. There's going to be a point where, you just can't go any further. I think it was Brad who was on a call and he was talking about he wishes he would have built, better connections at the last place that he was at because, going at this alone, if you're dialing and you get tired of dialing, you put the phone down, you're done. For me, I talked about in the last episode, I became a better producer when I became a leader because people were watching me. I was like, I have to hold myself accountable because I have to be better for others. And some people need others to hold them accountable. So I think just keeping in mind, if you're going to come into this business, you need to set your ego aside, find people who can fill in some of your, weaknesses and areas of opportunity and grow with them, learn with them, and let them pick you up just in the ways that you can help them and pick them up.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think anybody getting into this industry, if you really want, everybody's like, I want to be the top producer. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, well, what's the key to success? Start building. Because when
Hmm.
you have feet coming up from underneath, you've got people that you brought in yourself and they're moving faster than you. They're getting things going faster than you. They're more tuned in than you are. It's going to make you do one of two things. You're either going to quit or you're going to skyrocket because you're like, I got somebody to run with. I've got somebody to push me to be better. I've got somebody watching me. And if you look at all of the elite producers in the company, these are people that do over $20,000 on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. You look at all of them, they all started building, and that's when their businesses took off because now they had somebody to perform for and they had somebody to perform with. And that makes all the difference in this business. When you have people that you can lift up and set an example for and follow you, it's like it changes everything. It changes your mindset. It changes the way you think. And I always say this, if you don't like where you are right now, financially, you don't like where you are personally, you don't like the house you live in, the car you drive, stop thinking the way you've been thinking. Start thinking the way the people who have those things that you want, the people that have the bank account that where you want it to be, start thinking like them. And it's going to change everything for you.
And I wish I could share something with y'all now. You're going to have to wait 3 more weeks. We have a huge surprise in 3 weeks. Just you wait.
Big announcement.
Big announcement. Anyway, if y'all, want to chat with Cara or myself, want to join us at UniTrust, again, go to thebusinessbestiespodcast.com/join, JOIN. Cara, it has been a blast. I will chat with you as soon as we get off of.
Awesome.